All right, I have been waiting for all the planes to drive by. We're doing a little bit of a different style of video today, and my cat absolutely destroyed my hand, so I have battle scars. But we are talking about WB Games because WB had a Q3 earnings call. I've noticed that a lot of bad news for the consumer or for fans or whatever you want to call them comes out during these Q3 earnings calls in particular. It's like they're cursed. And this was actually reported by Shinobi602, who is a very prominent and trustworthy news source on Twitter when it comes to all things pop culture, video games, etc. And they posted about David Zaslav. David Zaslav is pretty much in charge of WB right now since the acquisition by Discovery. And this statement will be interesting to you, I think. Basically, WB is going to be making live service games. That's what they want to do. They're not really interested as much in single player, story driven, etc. stuff anymore. You know, things like Arkham Knight that was 2015. Yeah, we're not probably going to see a ton of that from WB anymore, which is really weird because some of the biggest launches of the last year, including one from WB, were single player, non-live service games. But let's take a look at the statement. They said that their focus is on transforming our biggest franchises from largely console and PC based with 3 to 4 year release schedules to include more always on gameplay through live services, multi-platform and free to play extensions, with the goal to have more players spending more time on more platforms. Ultimately, we want to drive engagement and monetization of longer cycles and at higher levels. We have put specific capabilities. We are currently under scale and see significant opportunity to generate greater post-purchase revenue. By the way, this is why business people should not be in charge of art, should not be in charge of creativity. When you have people, like you kind of need both. This is the problem here. So, in a perfect world, I can get into my utopia. In a perfect world, like we all live in Star Trek, okay? There's no scarcity of resources. There's no money. Really, you don't really need it. It can exist, but you don't need it. And anyone can just do whatever they want. Artists should be in charge of art because they're going to make the best art possible with that. But in the world we live in, you need both. You need artists and then you need the money concept in order to keep fueling it, right? I mean, we even see a lot of issues with this with companies like Konami, where you will have, regardless of where you fall on it, you'll have Hideo Kojima, like a proven track record, I can't speak, of making a lot of very good art, but then you'll have Konami, and they're funding it. And he couldn't make all that without someone funding it. I mean, you even look at Death Stranding with, after that. This has always been a thing, right? So I'm not saying that you can't have any business with art. But when you start talking about things like this, and you're not reining in the creativity a little bit to try and make it practical, you're not trying to say, yes, this is a good idea, but we need to start smaller first and then we can use the money to make something even more creative. You're not doing that. What you're doing is you're just talking about this like a consumable. They're talking about video games like they're cheeseburgers. They're talking about video games like you're ordering a pizza. Like you eat it up, you shit it out, and you're done with it and you move on. That's how these live service games are. Yes, they want you to keep pouring time into it, but the always online gameplay, it goes away. Eventually your progress is gone. Eventually they move on to some other always online thing. And the whole goal is just to milk you for money. Whereas the whole point of things like Arkham Knight, Arkham Origins, City, Asylum, Hogwarts Legacy even, the Monolith games with Lord of the Rings, you have Shadow of Mordor. The whole point of those games is to make a really good story, right? It's to make a really good gameplay world, really good gameplay loop, keep you invested, keep you coming back. And then, they have that. But the problem with that Zaslav is saying is yeah, people go back to Arkham Knight. People go back to Arkham Origins. People make videos on them. They get hundreds of thousands of views. Dude, look at my new video on Arkham Knight. It was just literally talking about the Batman skin coming out and some stuff for the Switch version. And it got 120,000 views. People still care about those games. That's what's stupid to me. But his point is, yeah, sure, maybe they care about those games, but they're not making money. They're not making more money. It doesn't matter that we got an initial push. Now we want more money. And what they don't understand is if WB would just work and actually make stuff that's good and take your time, people would buy it. Now, there are unfortunately, series of games that people don't buy. that I think are very good. You know, there's some JRPGs I love, like Star Ocean. I've mentioned that a few times. It underperforms a lot because people don't really know what it is. It's not advertised well. And that sucks. So yes, of course, there's going to be business sides to it. Like you have to advertise your product. You have to get the word out there. You have to get people interested, obviously. But a lot of the times, especially with these superhero characters, there are built-in audiences. Like if you make a good Wonder Woman game, people are going to buy it, right? You make a good Lord of the Rings game. We saw that with Shadow of Mordor. People are going to buy it. You know, you make a good Harry Potter game, regardless of how you feel about J.K. Rowling and all that garbage. Hogwarts Legacy was one of the biggest games of the last year. It was insanely well selling. Spider-Man 2, in its first, I believe, 11 or 12 days, it was recently reported crossed 5 million sales. 5 million people bought Spider-Man 2, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, for PS5. 5 million. And that's regardless of the fact that not even everybody has a PS5 yet. Like, there's still a ton of people just on the PS4 or on Xbox One or anything. And that sold incredibly well. You know why? There was hype behind it. It was a single-player superhero game. They put heart into it. Yeah, it's not perfect. I got criticisms of it. But it's a good game, and it's Spider-Man. It sold. Like, people were willing to buy it. This is the same thing with Batman. And then you look at games like Gotham Knights, and again, regardless of how you feel about it, maybe it's your favorite game ever. It underperformed. A lot of people didn't care for it. A lot of people didn't like it. A lot of people didn't connect with it. It just wasn't for them. And that was a single-player superhero game that I would argue was not marketed well. I would argue was kind of deceptive in what it said it was and then what it said it did with certain characters. I don't know if I have to be careful about spoiling that game at this point. Probably no one cares. But regardless, a lot of people were not happy with some of those creative decisions, and they just weren't interested. That doesn't mean people don't want single-player games. Like, we can play this game with anything. Look at Avengers. Marvel's Avengers, the game, got lambasted. That game did a lot wrong, and it had a lot of problems with its sales. I mean, it ended up kind of being a bit of a failure because people just didn't want to stick around. They didn't want to play it. They didn't want to grind fest. They felt like it was boring, so they left. And that's the problem with this plan. Single player does not mean successful. So here's 2 examples of games that I want to point out. This is Batman Arkham Knight. 2015 still has better graphics in a lot of ways than a lot of games now because it does a really good job of hiding its problems. Using rain, using textures, using the environment. It hides its issues. And this game, despite controversy about the Batmobile, despite the collector's edition version with the Batmobile, I don't know if people remember this being canceled and really no one getting that. That was a huge deal. Despite launching poorly on PC and taking forever to fix, people still talk about this game. People still love this game. Videos go up about this game. They get 100,000 views. It happens. 2015. There is interest in this. This is just an example. Just an example. Then you have games like this, Star Ocean, The Second Story R. This is a JRPG, recently came out, 2023. Fantastic game. Awesome. But a lot of you probably don't know what it is because there wasn't really good marketing ever around this series to explain what it is. All you had to do is Final Fantasy in space. That's an example of, I would say, business kind of failing the art. Good art, and I'm glad it exists. I love it. I wish more people cared about it, and I want to make videos on it, but no one will watch them. But my point is, this is good art. This is good art. This is successful. This is not as successful as it could be. It sold good enough, but this could be huge. This series could be up there with Final Fantasy. It could be. It's just as good in a lot of ways. Not always, but in a lot of ways it is. And it's on a limited budget too. So they do a really good job with it. But my point is, business will tie into these things. Both of these are single player games, by the way. Both of these are a console generation apart. But this game is still generating buzz, while this game, it's having issues generating buzz. And I wish it wasn't. It deserves to be doing good. I genuinely believe that. But my point is just that when you have a smaller IP, not as many people are going to know it. That's fine. We can all agree on that. You make a single-player The Question video game from DC, I will be on that thing immediately. I mean, I'll be going through 10 changes of pants, like a The Question investigation game, where you have like conspiracy theories and fighting and stuff in the DC universe. Dude, you guys wouldn't hear from me for a month. I would come back with like a Logan like beard, like from the Wolverine when he's like living in the forest. I'd be like, What time is it? I've been playing The Question. Of course, there's going to be nerds like me that love this stuff and are very tuned in. But you're also going to have to market those things. I think what WB doesn't understand is that their single-player games do well when they are good and well marketed. Live service fails a lot of the time, and sometimes it does great. But also people get tired of it. Look at Destiny 2, bleeding players. People are leaving. Look at World of Warcraft. I mean, yeah, it's doing good again now that it reintroduced the classic thing. Why is that? Because people wanted the old thing back. That's something we're seeing a lot of now in the modern gaming industry is people are like, I actually like the old thing. I don't like this weird cancer where it's like I have to log in every day to get like a login bonus, and then I have to play 3 hours a day in order to get my daily challenges, and I have to do this and that. People will play those games, and there are games like that that are fun. Fallout 76 now. I love that game. I think it's really fun. It's got a ton of problems. I think it's fun. My wife and I play it. Love it. But it's not going to be around forever. It's not an eternal experience. And maybe I shouldn't even say eternal because neither are we, but it's not an experience that will last our lifetime, right? People will go back. Our kids will go back, assuming we don't nuke the entire planet Oppenheimer style. They will play this game. They will say, whoa, that's a cool Batman game. That's awesome. The same way people go back and play the original Super Mario Bros. The same way people go back and play, I don't know, I'm completely blanking, Pac-Man. It doesn't matter that it's old. People are still interested. And what you need to be able to do is make good products around that. And also, WB shot itself in the foot. It should have never become the Batman company. It was such a brain-dead move to do in its comics, in its movies, in its video games. It never wanted to branch past that. It was like, well, we could do Superman. But it's too hard to do. Oh, we could do Green Lantern. We'd need a lot of creativity for making those constructs and stuff. Oh, I don't know about that. Oh, no thanks. Like, they just don't want to put the effort into expanding their repertoire. Do you have any idea how many amazing DC heroes there are that could make fantastic video games? And off the top of my head, just from like household names that people know, Green Lantern, Flash, Wonder Woman finally getting a game from Monolith, hopefully great. Martian Manhunter, probably not actually a household name. I guess I'd just say the Justice League. Let's throw Martian Manhunter in there. That's just like 4 or 5 examples right there of characters that people care about. But they're not willing to do anything with because it's too difficult because they just want to keep going back to Batman, right? We saw the same thing with Harry Potter. It was a push to get Hogwarts Legacy out. But now that it's out, it did really, really well. Assassin's Creed Mirage. They went away from huge RPG sprawling world, okay? They went away from that and they said, let's tone it back. Let's go a little more back to the basics. Let's do a little smaller area. Let's do a more contained story. Let's remove some of those RPG elements. Let's make it more accessible, and let's make it reminiscent of the classics, okay? But also have it do its own thing and be creative. It sold extremely well, very well. Yeah, there's an in-game shop. You can buy a couple cosmetics, but they don't matter. And that's the kind of thing that I think these companies don't get is if you were willing to make games like Arkham Knight, you were willing to make games like that, Spider-Man 2 for these characters, people are willing to buy DLC. People are willing to go and buy the City That Never Sleeps DLC for Spider-Man. People are willing to go buy freaking racetracks for Batman Arkham Knight and buy the Season of Infamy. People are willing to go buy Cold Heart for Arkham Origins. You just have to do that for other characters and you will be successful if you market it well, take your time, and make a good game. Those 3 things have to be done. Take your time. Do not rush it. That is what hurts games and studio credibility forever. Make a good game. Those 2 tied very well together. And that's, here's the funny thing. That's what this game did those 2. But then you have to do the final thing. Market it well. You have to get people's eyes on it. You have to get people interested. That's what you have to do. WB has never been good at that. It's only ever succeeded at that in recent years with Arkham. It really has when it comes to games. And I guess Lego DC character games, like Lego Batman. But again, they rode off of the coattails of Batman. You would never have seen Lego DC supervillains if you hadn't seen Lego Batman. It just wouldn't be a thing. They would have never taken a risk on that. They would have been like, no, hell no, we're not doing that. Doing our Batman. But because it was so successful and they changed Lego Batman over time into basically Lego Justice League, then they had a built-in audience that they were like, okay, now we can make this game. Now we can make Lego DC supervillains. That's the kind of stuff you have to do. Again, I want to just really quick before we wrap it up. Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Assassin's Creed Mirage, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Hogwarts Legacy, Spider-Man 2. Another example, and by the way, these are a list that my friend Irogen put together. He has his own channel, which I will link in the description down below because he's very underrated. But that list, plus, let's add on Starfield. Really good launch numbers. Those games did very well. You know what they all had in common? They're single player. They're not really games as a service. Some of them will have DLC. Some of them will have maybe an in-game store where you can buy a cosmetic here and there like Mirage does. But that's it. They're not games as a service. You're not logging in for your login bonus every day. You're not going back to join a clan to do a raid or any of this crap. You're just playing the game. And you know what? It turns out a lot of people who don't have unlimited time, who are just normal people who go to a 9-to-5 job, maybe more, and they come home and they have a family and they have friends and other stuff going on, a lot of those people don't have time for games as a service. They don't have time to like base their entire personality off of playing Destiny 2 or Fallout 76. They can't do that. A lot of those people like to play these types of games. And so these games do well because you can start Spider-Man 2, get busy with work, and go back to it in 2 weeks and you're having just as much fun and you didn't miss a dang thing, which is something that the cancer that is live service is missing. And it sucks because, like I said, there are some of those games that I think are fun. You want to play them casually, whatever, cool. But they are a money sink. They are created to, I truly believe, kind of prey off of addictive personalities, try and get you to spend as much money and time as you can on it. They ruin relationships. They ruin families, genuinely. Like, people get so obsessed with them that they ruin their lives. Like, those are things that, unfortunately, instead of just being enjoyed as casual fun, they're pushed almost like a lifestyle. And I hate that about these companies. That's the direction it seems like WB is wanting to go. I'm not saying they will never make another single player game, but it's just sad, man. It's like, you guys made Hogwarts Legacy. That was you. How do you not see how successful that is? That was you guys. You can't even like look at Spider-Man. It's not Spider-Man. It's not like, well, yeah, but that was Insomniac and they do things differently you made it. You made Hogwarts Legacy. Like, how can you not see that this formula works? It works. Just do it right. I don't know. It's so stupid. Like, it's just, it's mind-boggling to me. I wanted this video to be 5 minutes, but like, I feel my blood pressure rising. Like, my heart rate is increasing. And like, pretty soon I'm going to turn green. All right. I'm going to turn green. The whole room's going to be smashed. So I got to end the video. But WB doesn't care what any of us think. They don't care. But this is so sad. And then, like, when you look at the fact that Jamie Walker and Sefton Hill left Rocksteady, maybe it was entirely amicable. They said it was. That's what any business person will say, okay? I don't blame them. Maybe it was. But it's weird timing, isn't it? Like, you have these two creative, amazing people ditching your studio when you're pushing towards the live service-y Suicide Squad game, which unfortunately is probably going to be one of the last performances of the great Kevin Conroy. So you have to choose between, do I want to miss out on that, or do I want to support this thing? And you're pushing towards that, and they leave. And now we're getting news about this. I don't know. It seems very convenient. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'm very disappointed, but you know what? Single player is not dead. So people have been saying, like, it's dying, it's dead. Again, all those games, they were single player games. They did well. People want this formula. People will pay for this formula. And those games, especially if you're buying them like I do, like put them on your shelf, those last. These PS2 games, I can dump those files into my computer and emulate them immediately if I want, or I can pop a disc in a PS2 and play it. No online service. Nobody can stop me. The best they could do is send somebody to my house to like take out my electricity or rob me. You're not taking that away. But Destiny 2, eventually, that goes away. Fallout 76, that goes away. These live services, they're not forever. And people are catching on. They're realizing that. And they're putting their money where their mouth is. And they're supporting these types of games. They're supporting single-player games. This is the most brain-dead, tone-deaf, ignore your fans, ignore the consumers move ever. But what do we expect out of WB? They were stupid before the acquisition. They'll be stupid long after the acquisition. They're some of the most bullheaded, ridiculous, up their own ass, not listen to anyone who literally pays their bills and gives them money companies out there. And I don't expect that to change. It just won't. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I do appreciate you. Have a fantastic day. If you want to support this channel, we have channel memberships. Join button is down below. We have a Patreon with all kinds of exclusive videos. The channel memberships have those too. We have another channel, Degenerate Plays, where we play through games. My wife Jill has a channel, Magical Jill, where she does a lot of fun stuff, and I'm on there. We also have our own store. I will throw this out here at the end, because I'm going to do my own marketing. I'm going to do what WB doesn't do a good job of. We have our own store where we repurpose comic books that were going into landfills, and we make really cool artistic transformative stuff out of them that would be awesome for your home. We also have very cool handcrafted beautiful jewelry my wife Jill does. Maybe you got a friend, maybe you got a lover, a potential lover that would like this stuff. Supports our channel. So we appreciate you very much. Have a fantastic day. As always, everyone, stay shui.